All right. Nothing on this channel is should be taken as investment advice, as everything is for educational and informational purposes only. You click the buttons, you do what you do. You can go leverage yield farm if you want, but it's not our fault if you end up losing all your money. So let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to Bytes. This week, Evan was not going to be able to join us. I think his boat crashed somewhere like off the coast of Malta. So we probably won't be seeing him anytime soon. I think he was trying to break out Doquan. That's just what the chat was about. So we'll see if he's like alive or if he even made it out of that jail. So this week, though, we actually have a great guest here. We've got the founder of Apollo DAO, everyone's friendly neighborhood asset manager of the cosmos. Anon, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course, man. It's great to be back. I know we've done a few in the past, but it's always good to touch up again.
Yeah, how you been? How's everything going? I know you've been really involved with Settlers. I know you've been having some nice little rooftop sneak peek pics of what you guys have got going on. How's everything going?
Yeah, no, man, it's going great. Yeah, so yeah, we have the co-working spot, event space out in New York, and then so doing a bunch of stuff on that side. We just hosted like the Delphi Labs incubator kickoff, and was with Ravi from Labs and stuff. So it's good to kind of network, and obviously it's good to have like friends in real life and stuff, not just be on the internet all the time. So I think it's healthy to do a little bit of in person stuff a lot.
So with the team all out being out there, do you actually have interactions with people who are working on Mars, who are working on osmosis and stuff like that in person, like in actual working relationships?
Yeah, I mean, obviously out in New York, it's kind of people come and go, come and go. So for Apollo, it's just me and then one of our other devs that are out here, but like it's actually pretty close to me, basically like almost neighbors, you could think. And then like Sunny is always in town around, so like I'll see Sunny around, and then yeah, like Ravi from Delphi Labs lives kind of close to that area. And there's like Jeet from Agoric. I'm always with him, and like so yeah, definitely like it's definitely like really popping in New York for Cosmos. Like we have like the Cosmos New York group chat, and everyone's actually like super friendly in there. It's like it's not how it feels like on Twitter, So yeah, it's really cool to like get a chance to meet people. Like I got to meet Zaki too, which was really cool. I've met a bunch of these like really like prominent like Cosmos people, and you get to like talk to them and kind of like get their backstory, and they learn a lot from them.
That's awesome. I saw Zaki from afar when I went to Token 2049 in London. That was probably the most like non-Cosmos convention I could have gone to. It was just like it exuded with like TradFi B2B like crypto solutions, like risk management and all that shit. Oh my god, my cats are playing with a toy beneath me. But yeah, I saw Zaki. He had panel. He chatted with a lot of people up on stage talking about the modular app chain thesis.
Mhm.
And it was just like, okay, I wasn't here to like listen to this thesis. I'm already sold on the modular chain thesis. Like I want to like move past this conversation. But nonetheless, it was still really interesting to hear what Zaki had to say and the overall vision that Cosmos has. Kind of moving towards that, kind of an adjacent question. I know you guys are kind of branding yourself as like Cosmos Asset Manager Portal.
Mhm.
I want to chat with you about what that kind of means, what that means for the user experience, what type of actual instrumentation are you guys looking forward to actually starting to create with the Apollo DAO?
Yeah. So obviously, we kind of build these tools for ourselves first, and then since we're kind of like power users and use all of this, and then we have a lot. We get like I think just like kind of get a good UX feel of like what actions do people need to take on chain, like what are different foundations, and so like then I usually like put it into different buckets of like there's like your traditional just average user, they might not be using something like a multi-sig per se. So they might be more keen on like using the leverage vaults, using the vaults. So that's kind of how they would use the suite. And then someone like a foundation, they're probably going to need to use multi-sig tool. We're also like looking to do like payroll streaming and integrations with stuff like Kado. So that it could be
Ooh.
something similar to like on Terra, we used to stream our salaries, but now you could integrate Kado. So it's like you could stream like from like say your foundation's treasury into your employee's wallet, and then with Kado, you could like trigger a contract to then put that into their bank. So like it would almost be like you're getting paid like straight into your bank, like a direct deposit, just abstracting all of the like different transactions. So you could go literally from like Team Foundation to the wallet to the bank, all pretty seamless. It's like kind of something I'm interested in building out a little bit. And then obviously we have kind of like your like funds and large traders who they might need something like the multi-sig. to store their funds, but then they also want to deploy these funds, and they don't want to actively manage it themselves because we all know managing a multi-sig and managing like all of that stuff can get a little tedious. So
For
we kind of
sure.
have like kind of set it up to where it's like, okay, like our vaults can basically create this leverage position for you with one click by using Mars. And then they also can like basically auto compound your rewards or whatever other strategies we go to. So it's kind of like a suite of tools that I like to think of it almost like a develops like an SDK in a way where it's like kind of like it's like a blank slate where people come in and they can kind of use what parts of the tools they need for their different business uses or like personal uses.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Wait, did I just disconnect or am I good? My internet's being weird. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm good. All right. So yeah, that's super interesting just from an overall being able to tap into that type of infrastructure. I'm sure that doesn't really exist for many businesses being able to streamline payments and payroll solutions.
Yeah.
I easily see there actually being a marketplace where people can actually use this type of instrumentation. Have you guys had like interest in people or like people coming to you guys since you guys made the multi-sig for the Cosmos? I know that in the tooling community was pretty massive, and that's why it kind of garnered you guys more of attention within those communities. Has that instrument, like that tooling and realization that there is a need for that type of stuff, has that kind of like spurred your guys' thinking going into this direction of trying to offer this type of yeah, like an asset manager system?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we've since Terra we've gone on to launch the multi-sig. It's on Osmosis, Injective, as well as like obviously like Terra 2 as well.
Hmm.
Planning to launch it on like Say, Neutron, all these things. And so like we launched natively on these chains. So to start, it's kind of almost similar, somewhat similar, I guess, to B2B in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
where
it's
it's
like
kind of like
a software as a service kind of thing. That's
yeah, so
it's a SaaS model.
and then also like we plan to operate on these chains. So either way, we have to launch this there anyway. So like it is sometimes
Yeah,
a little bit selfish, but not what I mean. But it's like, oh, I want to use this and I need to use
yeah,
this. So like I'm sure some other people might want to. So it kind of comes in as like it's a good way to get used to like coming into the different communities, like launching a product, letting people use it, kind of like just people like start to know, like start to see your UX, meet you, and then we can come in
yeah.
and launch like our other products if people want to use those too. So
That's super. That's yeah. That's super interesting. I like that you guys are looking forward to the to other chains as well, especially Say Network. I'm really excited for Say Network and what they've got going on over there. Awesome to hear that you guys are considering that type of ecosystem. But enough of what you guys are kind of got going forwards in terms of roadmap. Want to talk about a little bit about what you guys have got going on right now. Your leverage vaults on the Red Bank have been doing incredible. Before the live stream, you actually mentioned to me that you weren't able to get like actually deposit yourself because you were at the gym and it just filled up so quickly. So just wanted to hear your thoughts and kind of your take on how massive the launch of your leverage vaults have gone and how just things are going over there.
yeah. So yeah, obviously we had been pretty close to developing this and launching it on Terra back before things happened, and then so it felt really good to be able to kind of deploy this and like see it actually finally happen. Like we were kind of testing it on Terra, but yeah, no, it's like it's really exciting to see it live and building it out with Mars. Mars has been pretty great. It's like it's really awesome working with their engineering team, and all of that stuff. Like really talented. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to like offer these services. Obviously, I barely get to use it myself because yeah, they already filled up while I was at the gym. But yeah, no, it's I think it's like a really good like kind of innovation for just like Cosmos in general. Is like I said, it kind of gives you that access to like for obviously like leverage up, leverage trade, whatever, like degenerate. But at the same time, you're also like, the risk parameters on Mars are pretty are pretty safe, right? Like the caps are pretty lower. I mean, the LTVs are limited, the max leverage is limited. So, but I think like that'll increase the yield on Cosmos for these different assets because say for the Stride Atom Vault, all the users are borrowing Atom. So then now all the depositors on the deposit side can deposit their Atom, and then there's going to be more demand for that. So I think that it's really cool to be able to, like I said, create more demand for and different things, different strategies to do. Because like before this, there was really no way to like access this leverage, which is like pretty common in on like something like Ethereum or like the traditional markets where you can, access like essentially margin, right?
Yeah. Accessing margin is also really, really common in centralized exchanges, and for osmosis and for these other platforms, these decentralized dApps to kind of like offer that as like an actual instrument on chain, completely on chain.
Mhm.
That's big. Do you guys see yourselves launching your vaults on basically all the other chains that are like to come to Cosmos? Say network primarily, maybe even some of the EVMs like Barrett
Yeah, so I mean, obviously our contracts are in
Yeah.
Roscosmosm. So, but I've actually like met Smokey. Smokey's honestly a really cool dude. I'm like a big fan of Smokey and the
Nice.
Veritone guys, and they developed Polaris and all of this. And but yeah, so if they were to like offer Cosmosm support, then yeah, we would be able to provide our tools there. As far as the other networks too, yeah, definitely will be anywhere that Mars launches, like anywhere they launch like one of their hubs, we'll probably come pretty short after, and kind of like integrate with them. And then, yeah, looking to also integrate kind of where Astroport goes. So our vaults will be compatible with Astroport. So kind of wherever Astroport launches, we should be able to provide vaults for that, as well as like our vaults are live on Osmosis. So should be able to support that. And then as these other dexes come out, we should be able to look into supporting those. So really depends on how different all of like the integrations go. So, but yeah, definitely looking to support a few like whatever dexes come up on say. Looking to support like wherever Astroport kind of goes, Mars goes, and then yeah, looking also just kind of expand to kind of like other lending markets that come out eventually, which then like then they can get some really cool strategies where, say you deposit your USDC into this vault, and then it will just swap between these like whitelisted kind of lending markets depending on the highest yield, so you can kind of maximize where you're lending.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And do you see there being like, I guess from the management perspective, are you guys driving the decisions being made with what vaults get launched and at what parameters they're being set at, or is there an actual like kind of a governance experience there?
Yeah, so yeah, eventually we will have like a lot more like governance involved in these vaults. So currently right now it's kind of driven just off liquidity, really, because like
Okay.
it's like it only makes sense where there's liquidity. And then with Mars also, like because of the liquidations, you need to have a deep enough pool to be able to kind of handle taking these liquidations and not getting like crazy price impact or like bad like slippage or things that can kind of be harmful to different protocols. So as far as like the risk parameters and like all the leverage yield farming, that's more on the Mars side. So we kind of have like created these vaults that like the vaults obviously work without leverage, but the leverage vaults, they interact with the Mars credit manager. So it's basically the same vault technically, but on the leverage side, it's basically managing this credit manager for you. So it's going to take out the loan for you, basically create the LP, roll it all up into like one LP. So then it just kind of automates a lot of like that manual process. Like before, if you were to do like a leveraged LP position, say if you're on Ethereum or whatever, like you or anything wherever you go to something like Aave, you deposit your collateral, you borrow something, and then you take the other side of the pool. All right, that's another transaction, put it into the pool, and then you'll be getting your rewards, and you have to claim rewards. So it's kind of like 4 or 5 transactions plus ongoing reward claiming. So
Hmm.
like the leveraged vaults, they kind of manage that credit for you, and then they deposit it into the traditional vault. So it's kind of like it borrows money from Mars and then deposits into like the Apollo vault, like the standard Apollo vault is kind of like how it works.
Yeah. So it just handles all that, just high transaction amounts. It
Yeah.
automates it.
Yeah,
Um,
and then you can obviously set your parameters as well. So like I said, it's like you can decide which side you want to borrow. You could do like a traditional 2x position where you have the LP, you just want to lever it up 2x. You borrow 50% on each side, whatever. But then there's also other positions where if you just want more exposure to one side than the other, obviously there's still impermanent loss. So that's like, you can't get away from that necessarily, but you can borrow one side. So you could either borrow the Osmo side, and then you could supply, say, the Bitcoin side, and then you can kind of leverage that up a little bit, increase your yields, You still own the Bitcoin, you borrowed the Osmo, you pay the APR to borrow the Osmo, and then obviously the trade is like you need to be earning more on the lever on like the yield side to make it kind of worth borrowing, and obviously the impermanent loss factors there too. But it's definitely a lot more customizable than if you were to just like take out a traditional like 2x position. Like I personally like to do the customized LPs a bit to kind of tailor my risk and my exposure to things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that customizability is just crucial when you want actual user base to come use your stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it makes sense. Steph, you can pull up my screen. I actually have the screen share pulled up of the available vaults over at Mars. You guys have these three live directly from the Mars Bank right now? Is that the only ones?
Yep. So these are the three ones that are basically how it works is they get obviously whitelisted by osmosis
Hmm.
to be able to force withdraw. So I know we get asked a lot of questions on the forums about that too, but essentially it's like these osmosis LPs are bonded for 14 days, and with leverage you need to be able to liquidate. So the force unlock is basically like a workaround where like if you're getting liquidated only like this contract can unlock these LPs and get
Gotcha.
liquidated. Yeah. And
Gotcha.
then, yeah, and then these then from there you get whitelisted to interact with the credit manager. So these three have now been basically whitelisted from forced withdrawal to be able to liquidate, and
Hmm.
then they get whitelisted to interact with the credit manager. And then that's once they get live after that. So that's kind of the process we go through. So the next ones that are on the way are the Bitcoin and Ethereum ones for osmosis. So
Sick.
those have been whitelisted for forced withdrawal, and then they are going to have to be put up for vote to be able to be to be able to use the credit manager, and then they'll be able to be like probably the next two vaults coming out.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, as everyone can see here, the ST Atom One is completely at max. That's
Raise the
unfortunate.
caps.
Those caps, man, those caps. I mean, this is an incredible LP. Obviously, not financial or investment advice. If you decide to go into this LP and you get wrecked because of smart contract risk, not my fault. But it's still an incredible opportunity to actually go yield on your Atom if you're just going to be holding it, especially with being paired with ST Atom.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just,
So
it's
it's a
kind of
good
like a
call.
no brainer LP position.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that one's probably the simplest to understand risk in
Yeah.
terms of like, like the most risk there is just that like, staked atom isn't a native asset, but that
Mhm.
obviously like that's the risk that, it's like a very, very clear known like small risk in my opinion. But that's kind
Yeah.
of like the main risk of these vaults because they are like obviously staked atom are very similar priced. So you can kind of, you get increased exposure without as much volatility from having like like something like the Osmo Atom, as you can see, like even through the flip side analytics that you guys have done for us too, you can see
Mhm.
that pair has two volatile assets, so it's probably not as high in demand as something like even Osmo Axelar USDC. One side of those is a bit more stable, and then staked Atom obviously is the same. So you can kind of like obviously the analytics can show it, but you can kind of just see it through the
That's a
demand
perfect
itself, right?
perfect transition right there.
Yeah.
Steph, pull it up. Pull up that transition image that we've got up in here. Do we have it in here? We might not have it in here. I may have just trolled Steph. I don't know if we have the flip side inside of the week graphic. Um, let's go ahead and get into that. Steph, are you there? Oh, okay. Never mind. I'll just go ahead and do it. All right. Time to get into the flip side crypto inside of the week, the most shilly segment that I've ever done on this show. Anon, thank you so much for bringing up the inside of the week. Oh shit, that was an alpha leak.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, there we go. This is the alpha. This is the real alpha leak. It's what you guys have got going on with Mars, and we're starting to dig into it, starting to flirt a little bit with that information. This is a specific dashboard coming at to you from one of the analysts at the Flipside community, basically diving into the Mars leverage vaults and diving into everything that is happening over at Mars and just digging into kind of what's going on chain with the active liquidity. What are some of the most interesting ones that you would like to call out here as like kind of some like eye opening metrics for you guys?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I usually honestly look through this like once a week. So I kind of look through it and just check it out. So like I said, we can kind of just low key run through it. So if we start at like total credit accounts created, you can kind of see how many of these positions and credit accounts are made. And then obviously total unique farmers. So pretty cool to see about like, 450, 500 users on this.
Yeah.
So it's always good to kind of see those numbers going up.
Yeah,
And then you
definitely.
can, yeah, so the go down, keep going down. Yeah, some of these are kind of a little
They're a little redundant. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not yeah, it's just like a little like complex to look at off the top. Keep going. See if so yeah, go come down to something like this. This is another good
Ooh,
one right here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you can see total loans provided by Red Bank. So essentially, this is the credit manager. Well, like the vault basically takes out the loan, and then obviously the user has their side. So
Yeah.
around almost 600,000 in loans from the from Mars into the vaults, which is like yeah, pretty cool. So almost
Yeah.
a thousand loans. Obviously, a lot of people probably testing it out with smaller amount, but it's pretty
Mhm.
cool to see usage. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this usage is actually really, really interesting. Kind of operating on a vein of its own, and it's not this hasn't been live that long. So, and also you guys have to kind of go by the supply caps. So you're definitely not
Yeah.
going to be you're not going to be seeing any like massive amounts of growth. I know if you guys unlocked a little bit more of that ST Atom one, that one's going to just keep getting filled.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
think, our vaults on our side have around, like, 800,000 in it,
oh wow,
yeah, so it's growing, like you said, the caps are there for a good reason, but it's cool to see. It's definitely a different style of growth than on Terra, which was, like, insane, right? This is, like, a lot more, I don't know, like, sustainable, like, growing, like
yeah,
like, risk parameters are being used here,
yeah, risk risk parameters are being used.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just reported my losses
Yeah, so
on
then
my
I think,
anchor loans, so definitely yeah,
I
go
think
for
then you
it.
can see kind of, like, it looks like people definitely are if you scroll down a little bit more, you can see LP volume and then scroll down, keep going, see what
I
else is
think
in here.
this is where it ends from here.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, so I usually look at the big numbers, like the smaller stuff's kind of harder to read on the small screen, but yeah, like if you go
Oh,
through
you're talking
this.
about the text in here? This
Oh yeah,
like
but that's yeah. If you like go through it, like if you post like whatever, if anyone else is interested in it, to go through it, you can kind
yeah,
of see like which assets have more demand, which assets people are borrowing, which ones they're like how it's all depositing and stuff, which gets like yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
you can see the liquidity being provided here,
Yep,
even down to the yeah, you're right, even down to the individual assets and which one's being borrowed the most. Here's the daily loans being paid by the Red Bank. Osmosis XR USDC seems to be the one. There's a null one. There's something coming in null. That's interesting. Might
that's
be
probably the staked atom one maybe.
oh yeah, that is the one because it doesn't have it listed. All right. Yep, that one just absolutely rocketed. So
Yeah,
good on that one. Damn. You guys are really out here just attracting new volume.
yeah, and
Um
it's obviously good too because the depositors are depositing on their side. Obviously, when you deposit, you need utilization on the borrow side, because that's where the yield obviously comes from, and like so you kind of need utilization. So obviously you can manually take out these loans, but we see right now a lot of people doing like looping, is like the main strategy when Mars first launched. Something like deposit Atom, buy Atom, buy, and then like deposit more Atom on the other side. So and then obviously you get the Mars rewards, but that's kind of like I don't know. It's not as much of like organic demand, I guess. So
mhm.
the vaults was kind of like the second thing where there's kind of another source of demand. So like I said, we're kind of like a source of utilization for those depositors. So like as our vaults grow, we're like there's more demand for assets from the deposit side, which then yeah, well, the more you need, kind of the more attractive the rates get on that side, right? So
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. It makes sense. You guys are offering a new use case for using your capital. And it's really important for these platforms to start offering more of a diversity of that, especially being like on chain. Just having these abilities to do this on chain, completely away from a centralized exchange. I think that's really powerful. And I'm glad that you guys are just getting your feet underneath you guys and actually starting to push these out. Shout out to everyone in the audience who's saying that this is starting to feel like the good old Terra days. It is kind of starting to feel like that a little bit. Actually, seeing Mars, seeing Apollo DAO, seeing you guys actually work together here. It's really interesting to see how that's actually coming to fruition and offering a new use case for capital. And just more testament to the fact that you guys are building that asset management portal experience. Really, kudos to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. So I think we have a long way to go to make it into like a unified product, but kind of slowly rolling it out. working day by day just to kind of get it going, get back to where we were, and yeah, make a great experience for users on Cosmos to, like I said, open up like whatever their terminal or whatever, and you can go, oh, access to different yields. I can get my leverage. I can have access to the different vaults. I can scan through the different chains. Be like, oh, cool. Like I'm gonna look at the pools on say. I'm gonna look at the pools. I'll say S report. I'll look at injective S report, and you can be like, oh, cool. Like there's a this pool on this chain has a higher yield than the one on this. Maybe I'll provide some liquidity here because it looks like it needs it, and then maybe I'll take a little bit of leverage up, and then you're also increasing the size of the pools. So in the kind of Uniswap V2 type model, obviously you need liquidity in the pools to swap. So like a tool like that's pretty good for stuff like that. Obviously with concentrated liquidity, you don't need as deep of liquidity. But yeah, so it's kind of a good thing for the traders and it puts volume through the exchanges when you compound. So it's kind of like, puts volume through, which is always good to have volume as an exchange.
Yeah. I've been keeping an eye on the kind of the Trader Joe the entrance into the scene right now. I don't know if you've looked at their auto compounders, but their auto compounders seem to be really interesting. But they're going with like an antithesis approach to that of Uniswap, where it's like we're going to be taking fees from the LPs and giving it to the Joe token. So Joe token's starting to become like a little bit of like a yield farm exposure asset. It's just really interesting to see how all these yield plays and these liquidity providing platforms are kind of continuously evolving. And I'm sure in Cosmos, we're just like in the very early stages of that. I think that a long term, we're going to start seeing those like meta warfares kind of like break out within the Cosmos liquidity as just liquidity gets more substantial within these communities.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I think Osmosis is going to roll out their supercharged liquidity.
Yeah.
I know Forge Dex on Evmos just launched with the concentrated liquidity on their liquid staking exchange. So that's the other thing I see a lot of is like people are kind of doing the base asset or quote asset as a liquid staking token, which is kind of like another kind of like kind of cool newish innovation I think to kind of try out. So I know Stride is kind of definitely pushing and pioneering that a lot. So like I know, and then Shade, I think Shade just launched as well, and they're kind of doing a similar thing with allowing you to basically trade everything through the liquid staking. So you're not missing out on those rewards.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cosmos is busy. Cosmos has been doing well.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into a little bit of an alpha leak. Do I have your permission to go ahead and leak the alpha? What you guys have been cooking up?
Yeah, definitely. We can kind of pull it up, give the OGs in here like a little just kind of sneak peek of what we're kind of working on.
Here we go. Here's what you guys have actually been able to develop. This is your beautiful, gorgeous little simple front end. And I enjoyed what you said earlier about being able to kind of pick whatever mainnet you're on, and being able to interact with liquidity and stuff like that, and see what like, oh, this LP pool I will want to interact with. But right now at the moment, everything says Osmosis mainnet, but I can't wait for the day where that truly comes. But yeah, wanted to just chat with you about what you guys have got cooking up here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Kind of this is what we're planning to roll up once we kind of finish up a few of the last tweaks in the front end. So we've been kind of testing it. We've given it to like some of our community members to just give us like a little feedback. But yeah, like eventually you could imagine something like where that that Osmosis logo is. You could imagine a say Neutron X amount all next to each other. You could click click on whichever one you want to connect to. That'll pull up whatever that page for you guys. So I think also people, as someone in the chat said too, like people are pretty excited about Astroport as well. So we'll offer Astroport vaults, so you can kind of go in here and do either Osmosis, Astroport. And then yeah, we also offer the it shows basically the vault token price, and then it shows like deposit, unlock, withdraw, total APY. So I definitely think that it'd be cool to get like a liquidity provider dashboard, like building out more tools on like how to track your positions is kind of what I think, because it is very confusing to track liquidity provision, especially when you start to lever it up and then you have like two volatile assets. So your LTV is like always changing because of the two assets. So it kind of I think something like that, like maybe they said, honestly, I think like Flipside could probably do some
That's I
dashboards.
immediately thought about that. I was like, ooh, he's talking about analytics. What?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, no, having that data view of your active leverage positions, that would be massive.
Yeah, and then
Um,
obviously people like to see number go up, right? Or they like to see number move or numbers move. So like they like to be able to be like,
yeah,
oh, I can like, and I try like I'm the same way. Like I like to verify that these things are all working, right? So it's like
yeah,
even if it's my own, like even if it's like our vaults that we developed, like even when we're testing it, I'm like, yo, like I want to make sure this is that like that it's working as it says it is. And with those analytics tools, you can track to make sure that you're getting these returns. And then obviously with APYs, all of that stuff, it's good to be able to kind of have another source. Like obviously we pull it kind of right from the chain, but
yeah,
you never really know. Like I would say, like no one audits front ends. No one audits like front end analytics, right? So it's like
yeah. You don't know
go
if the
hard
front
code
end's telling you the
100%,
truth.
right? I could go hard code 100% APY on all these pools,
Yeah,
and then just be like, yeah, you're getting 100%. And if you don't
it's
check or if you don't like notice, then it's like,
yeah,
yeah, or you can like you don't know what formula everyone's using for the math, right? Like
mhm.
so obviously like we learned that on Terra a few times. Well, that's as far as I'll say on that. But people fudging numbers where it's like, all right, dude, like I don't know, like come on, like
Yeah,
so
you're absolutely right. I remember when that broke. That was pretty big. Obviously, that's not a good user experience to be lying about your APYs because you're doing something weird with the math, or you're just doing something blatantly grotesque, like hard coding it on the front end.
yeah. So like some of them, I think it's just more of like a weird math formula. Some of them I think is
Yeah,
a little more like intent, but yeah. So these are kind of the vaults that we're going to offer when we kind of roll this out. So these are all live on mainnet, and this is what the Mars vaults kind of deposited into. This is kind of just our display of it, and like we don't obviously offer the leverage on our side. So
this is beautiful. It just from the ability right here. This is gonna be so clean to click in between the different chains. I'm so excited to do that.
yeah, keep
Um,
it simple. Keep it
keep
simple.
it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid, smooth.
Yeah, just like, you're servicing the right audience. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see this Bitcoin one come up. Kind of a niche question here. I just wrote a thread on Bitcoin B. Bitcoin B is like kind of exploding on Avalanche. Wanted to get your take. I know that Bitcoin B is going to be going IBC. It's going to be in an IBC, and it's going to start competing a little bit with the Wrap Bitcoin. Do you guys have any anticipation to include a little bit of Bitcoin B action
yeah.
onto? Yeah. All right.
Definitely, if they launch the pools and there's liquidity in there and demand for it, then yeah, definitely. I'm obviously not the biggest fan of wrapped assets or stuff like that. Just
Of course.
and or assets that aren't necessarily backed by anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like yeah, the good thing about Apollo is we can kind of we just like kind of offering these automations on top. So once if anything like deploys, it's pretty easy for us to just like basically instantiate a vault for any pool. So we do have basically every single pool on Osmosis we can support, and we're just displaying these ones for now because these are kind of the larger main ones. But we will have like all the tail asset ones, like the smaller pools as well. We just
Mhm.
have putting them up on the front end, but I think they're technically like pretty sure they're technically instantiated at like somewhere if you were to really go look on chain. So like we will be able to offer like even some of those smaller ones as well, like pretty much everything on Osmosis and like everything on Astro that's within like a reasonable amount of liquidity because it's not
Yeah,
obviously it's not our job to like we're not financial advisors or whatever, but if I can like like if there's a way that we can be like, all right, this pool is like either a little sketch or this or that, like or really small, like maybe it's not in our best interest to like display it too high or display it like for people to get into it. So I definitely think try to stick with like the bigger vaults first and then slowly roll out
for
some of
sure.
the tail ones.
Yeah, yeah. If the vaults start growing, then like yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to see this grow out. I'm excited to see this actually go live. I think it's funny you guys have just put in like a little bit of dust in these pools. If you
Yeah, we got to
if
test
people are
it.
if people are smart enough, they can find the contracts. I'm definitely not smart enough. I can't code in deposit, but obviously they're on mainnet, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome to
yeah.
see. Excited for those to roll out. All right. Do you have any other alpha to drop this week? Do you want to share anything? What you guys have got coming up?
I'm trying to think. I mean, we're definitely going to be obviously supporting, like I said, Say and Neutron with our multi
Mhm.
sig. So definitely going to be doing that, and then yeah, hoping eventually too to I guess build like some more advanced strategies. So these obviously like are kind of just ideas or possible ideas. So then there's like stuff like managed leverage vaults, something similar to like if you remember like I don't know, like I guess Nexus, like and just like in terms of like easy for Terra people to like understand the concept of like
Mhm.
ways to like not get liquidated, right? So it's like a way to like manage your leverage position a bit to just keep you from getting like kind of super wrecked, right? Then
Yeah.
other things like, like of course everyone knows my best friend SPF, that I'm his biggest fan,
Yep.
yeah, on Twitter. But no, so something that I used to something that I used to really like on kind of like whatever the FTX or like FTX and some of these exchanges was they had these like bull and bear tokens. So it was like a 2x token or one like 3x token, or like 2x bear, 2x bull, and it's like basically a constant leverage position. So I think it's like a perpetual, right?
The
In a way.
constant oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's something similar to a perpetual as opposed to like leveraged liquidity providing. This is
Yeah.
more of like, oh, I want 2x exposure to Atom. So like, it's like a 2x Atom token, or it's like 2x bull, 2x bear type of thing. So if you want to be like short 2x or long 2x, you can buy this token, and like
Mhm.
basically going to be using the Mars leverage, right? Mars leverage, and then build smart contracts into that token, and then you provide
Yeah.
that token, and then yeah, it's basically like a tokenized perpetual leverage position. So something like that's
That's
pretty
super
cool. Yeah.
interesting.
And then like
That's super interesting.
yeah, and
Alright.
then I guess the other idea, this one is like definitely a little further out there of like I don't really know. Like that one's definitely very possible. Like the 2x, 3x, those tokens are very possible. This one is like a way to like say if you provide liquidity into a pool, so you provide your LP, and then a lot of times what I would do is I would go to a centralized exchange or some other exchange, and I would short one of the assets that I was exposed to, just as a way to be like, oh, if this asset drops, then I have like some sort of hedge, and then
Mhm.
I can then close that short if it goes down, and then I can use that to rebalance my position or do whatever. So I think some sort of structured product where it's like you're opening like a delta neutral or like delta hedged
Yeah.
type of, yeah. So like that's something where like say injective DYDX, like when you have something like that, you could basically, yeah, like basically go into a pool, but also take out a short. So like some sort of like structured product around that, I think would be cool. But yeah, that one's very like kind
That
of
would be nuts. That
yeah,
would be nuts, dude.
and like
Yeah. No, that's
latency might be an issue there. And then obviously you need liquidity, like you need to have enough liquidity. So like those vaults would have to be capped based on the amount of like, like whatever, like say long or short liquidity on the perp. Yeah.
yeah. That's super interesting. I mean, just from my DeFi farming, I mean, most of the time I'm always just thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna go provide liquidity here. How can I hedge this? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's always it's always just like a massive like ordeal. And I think that that's what keeps a lot of people at bay with actively managing a DeFi portfolio is because you have to consider crazy shit like this. You have to
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
all right, I'm gonna go liquidity provide for these two assets that I have individually have become bullish on, and have my reservations on each one just in a different way. But then you also have to consider like, oh, now I'm exposing myself to the fluctuation of these two assets and could actually lose out more than I actually would have yielded.
Yeah.
And so it's just like this type of mindset, this type of thing. It's natural into me at this point. Like I've already been considering this for probably about a year and a half now. So anytime I'm doing my portfolio, that's like the whole time. My brain is just always thinking about that shit. So if there's any way you guys can automate that decision making or just like being able to be like, oh, that actual actionable doing
Yeah.
it, that's massive. That's massive because
Yeah,
like
so
it
I think
already takes me
that'd be
so long
cool.
to make the damn decision.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I
because
think
like
it'd
I'm
be
always
cool, yeah.
indecisive about it. So if I'm like convicted enough about opening up an LP, it would just be an incredible asset management experience to be able to just rely on like knowing, yep, I can just declare what I want to do here and then it'll just do it for me. That's
Exactly, yeah. I think like I said, like you kinda know how it is too, like doing that all manually just is like it's just kinda like it's just ridiculous at some
Dude,
point.
it's horrifying. It's
Yeah.
horrifying.
So
I
much
only
stuff to
do it
go
for the
around.
major LP positions because like then it's just like it's only worth it for the big ones.
Yeah, and then like even like some like I think even us like we kind of forget how like we've been just doing it so long we get so into it that you forget how to like help like not help but like how to like offer a product to newer users or stuff like that. Like we kind of we're like, oh, I want to make the most complicated thing ever, blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, it's like just like make it simpler to use, right? So
How
like,
much of a user base are you really gonna have
'cause,
if
like
you
some,
do it?
if you talk to some people and you're like, okay, say that you whatever you deposit into Aave, you borrow, say like whatever you deposit USDC or something, whatever you borrow your Ethereum, and then you swap the
Mhm.
Ethereum to USDC, like you're technically short on Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and that concept, like to us, is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you borrowed the ETH, you swapped it, and you have to pay back the ETH. So, you're basically short,
You
more or
think
less.
your loan's gonna go down. You think
Yeah.
you want
Otherwise, you're
your
gonna have to
loan
pay
to
more.
stay down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's like something like that where it's like, we think like, oh, that's super normal. Yeah. But like, I try to explain it to like anybody normal, right? Or like even just like TradFi or whatever people, they're like, wait, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm like, yeah, like you're depositing in here, but then you're swapping this. And they're like, oh, like, it's just like, it doesn't register as like,
Even TradFi people have difficulty? That's
when you
interesting.
start talk, well, when you start talk, like at least maybe me, I kind of explain it really, like really off. Where I'm like, yeah, you just like,
Maybe
I'm like,
degenny.
yeah,
Yeah.
you put this in here, and then you swap this, and you take this back, and they're like, wait, what are you doing? Like, yeah, on the
What the
ETH,
f
like what, like Aave, like like they're like, what are you talking about? But
Yeah.
like like the TradFi people that know crypto, it obviously like, makes like super sense to them. But these newer
Yeah.
traders coming in that have never traded margin, like we're offering these financial services that are usually only for certain type of people, right? Like
Yeah, for, like,
the
higher level traditional market
yeah,
traders,
like the
like,
average person
intensive
doesn't get
market
access to margin. Like I'm pretty sure I probably couldn't even get access to margin in TradFi because they probably be
Oh,
like,
yeah, no, I mean, if you applied for a job at Deutsche Bank, you get clearance and you can go do it,
yeah,
like
I don't know if I would get accepted.
probably, but maybe, you never know. I mean, if you tell them you're the founder of Apollo DAO, an asset manager, I think that might change things.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I think it's like that's like something that to them I think makes sense, right? Because
yeah,
like, they've used these trading terminals and they've used all
yeah,
this stuff, and like they kind of want to open up a page and kind of okay, everything I need to know is on here. So I definitely think like that's what the analytics page would be really cool too, of like just like
yeah,
uh,
that analytics would directly feed into the whatever type of infrastructure you're required to do these,
yeah,
like, manage these positions. You'd have to have those analytics to be able to perform actionable actions on it on chain.
exactly. And like
Yeah,
normally that's something that you would have to pay a lot of money for in the traditional
yeah,
world to have these terminals and these like trading things to get like this information, right? So like the information is really hard to come by, and
yeah,
it's like there's such a like an edge for those people that do have it. But I'm always a fan of kind of like, yeah, so like you know putting out the information out there so people can make better choices
facts.
on like what they're doing. Yeah. And I think a lot of
Well,
people miss like impermanent loss calculator type stuff. So I think it's like
yeah.
making it very like clear of like, hey, like if this price goes down, you're gonna have more of this, and when you take it out, the token is gonna be in a different balance, right? So like stuff like that, like people don't understand what's happening. So just making it easier as you can.
Yeah, just making it easier. I think it's like I think it's hard to avoid having complicated terms when it comes to this because they've created this in TradFi where it's like a whole bunch of complicated words where
Yeah, yeah,
like to make it more nuanced. I think like having a simple P&L like monitor, like
yeah,
a P&L monitor, like that basically is like your health factor read.
yeah,
If you have like something as simple as like a health factor on positions and stuff like that, and you just declare like what we consider to be your health. I think that's like it's achievable. And honestly, as soon as you guys have that actually booted up, or you guys need a beta tester, I will pay you to let me use it.
yeah.
So like I definitely that sounds awesome because trust me, it's horrible to. I mean, yeah, it's just horrible to have to manage all these different positions on multiple different chains.
Yeah,
I
and
like I'm a manual router and I'm also a manual spreadsheeter. So
yeah,
it just sucks. It sucks.
yeah, no,
So
it does. Like, yeah, like I think IBC is an awesome tool too, and building like routing around that is like definitely going to be huge as well. If you ever used Cosmos, like that you've sent the assets to the wrong chain, or you've been like, wait, like
yeah,
I'm on the wrong IBC channel, or
yeah.
oh, I sent it here. There's no liquidity to swap. I got to send it back, and it's like, I think
It's
stuff
even
like
more
that.
horrid when you're going from IVC to EVM. I've been fucking with Canto a lot.
Yeah,
Oops, I cussed on the live stream. But yeah, I've been messing with Canto a lot, and it was horrible experience going from IVC to Canto.
yeah. So I think like abstracting some of those experiences like
Yeah,
will be like really yeah, because like I was like all the underlying tech is like just really great. It's just how can we make this like more digestible for people to use, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Like you're
And then
basically using like pretty close to like like I mean IBC is still really new, right? you're
Yeah.
basically using like more or less like kind of a not a beta product, but like there's just a lot to be built on top of it and around it still to where like, these things like where you figure out these pain points and you're like, all right, how can we address this? Which I think they are all being worked on by teams
Yeah.
and like the interchain, all the interchain people and all that stuff.
It's a massive problem. Everyone's aware of it. I think there's a lot of people in IBC land are aware of it. That like while IBC does make it more interoperable between like Cosmos hubs, and just like overall UX experience for people that are seasoned and actually use DeFi, it makes sense to most people. But you're absolutely right. There's like only so much of a limit that audience that you are actually addressing in terms of like usability.
Yeah,
And like the cross chain problem hasn't been solved by IBC. The interchain accounts and stuff like that, and like mesh security, like all those things are trying to get into that territory, and they will make it better, but it's not going to make it to the point where it's like, oh, I'm using something off of the OP stack and I can easily connect with the liquidity that is on Osmosis. Like that reality isn't going to be like it hasn't been made. And we fortunately got to interview one of the founders of Catalyst. He worked at Aave. He was a founder, Jim OX Jim. He's
yeah,
building
I actually know him too as well.
Oh, you actually know Extreme? Okay, yeah, okay. You know everyone. I forget this. You know everyone. Like it's actually kind of crazy.
I just
But
met him
yeah.
recently, but so I don't know him too well. But yeah, no, him and then one of his co-founders, Jin Tao. I don't know if you know Jin Tao, but
Oh, I didn't know that was his co-founder. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Damn.
yeah. So, all right,
All
yeah,
right.
but sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
No, you're fine. You're
Oh,
fine. That's actually super interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, no, that they're trying to solve that. They're trying to solve that like cross-chain liquidity, the modularity problem. And there was a good episode on the Flipside show where they chatted about kind of like the analytics and what that means for trying to keep track of analytics. And it just overall, I think one of the powerful things that he said that I found really interesting was that you have to transform the way that you're thinking about the underlying tech, and more approach it from the viewpoint of a user. Have that user viewpoint. And kind of start thinking about like, oh, I'm a user and I'm trying to manipulate several other blockchains. Almost
exactly.
like you're playing a video game from your own perspective of a user. And if the user like currently can go through these wallets and go through these bridges, obviously that user view and that user experience does exist, but there hasn't been this kind of like joystick centralized way to communicate with all these different various router endpoints. And so if you approach from that kind of like mindset, then I think it transforms the way that people are going to start thinking about the problem. Because I mean, obviously, we're getting into deep economic theory when you're trying to connect two different monetary ledgers of assets that
Yeah,
are operating on different consensus mechanisms.
yeah. No,
So
I think it's actually like the good thing about Apollo is that we have me as the chief idiot. So like if like I don't I just like pull up sites like I just like pull up sites and I just click all the buttons and like see what happens and like
yeah,
yeah, so like I'm like the perfect user because like I just pull up and I'm not reading anything that you write in the docs. Like I'm
yeah,
just
just start click
paging
shit.
around.
Yeah. I do that too. I do that too.
Yeah, and I'm like, all
100%.
right, if this is harder than me just coming here and clicking shit, then like yeah, it's like it's too complicated, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Flipside's website was like that for a little bit, but now when you actually go to Flipside's website, you're like, oh, they make dashboards. That makes sense. Like
Yeah,
because like before, it wasn't really. It was more about the bounty program.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so absolutely agree with you on that. All right, I think we've had a great chat. I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat. It's been a blast. Anon, this is your shill section. What do you guys got coming up? Where do you want to send people towards?
Yeah, no, let me talk to my lawyer first and then yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely whatever. Just check us out on Twitter. Yeah, so like at Apollo DAO. So yeah, if you guys are interested in any of that, or yeah, if you want to like reach out to me or talk to me on Twitter too, just at Anon NGMI. So yeah, these are probably the two. Yeah, as you can see, the top right, we have the Chads, the Pepes, and the no caps. So you can see who they let on the Twitter once in a while. But yeah,
I
definitely.
saw this earlier today. I was like, what the hell?
I was actually at the gym when it launched. Like I said, it's like I was literally in the locker room, and then I just like checked my phone real quick, and I'm like, oh damn. So I just reposted like some Pepe meme and whatever. And then if you scroll down, like Bruce had already reposted it. So like go up a little bit, like literally it's back to back.
He already posted about
Yeah,
it.
but I hadn't checked it yet. So then I went and saw it and I texted him. I'm like, yo, my bad. Like I was at the gym and I just like went to repost it like with a meme. And he's like, nah, it's all good. I'm like, well, I'm gonna leave it up. So
The meme performance is really interesting. This is your guys' like marketing case study. Like
yeah,
right here.
A/B testing.
2,600 views on that one, but the meme, 4,000 views. Look at that. Look
Wow.
at that. That's successful marketing right there. You guys are killing it. The meme game, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys. All right, absolutely incredible. It's been a great chatting with you, Anon. Thank you so much for joining. And everyone, there will be links in the description of the video. Go check out Apollo DAO. Definitely go interact with their vaults. We're definitely at the early stages of the bold vision that Apollo DAO has here, and I'm excited to be on the journey with them. Next time they have some major updates, I'll definitely be inviting Anon and anyone else from the team that's interested in coming on.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week, where I believe we will have Nolis coming on. I'm not sure if Citrus Mimosa is still watching. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about who we have on next week, but we will have a stream next week, 12 p.m. Eastern time.